The top 5 reasons everyone is leaving Illinois, and it isn't one of them is not the weather. Hey, I appreciate you joining us here on the DPB clips, the David Paul Blumenshine show clips. And you can subscribe. I'd love to hear why is it that people are leaving Illinois? Why did you leave Illinois? Wire Points does a great job of covering material like this. I encourage you to go out and look at this on any of their social media platforms, whether that be Twitter or Facebook. But at the same time, I hope that you subscribe to our YouTube channel for the DPB show. Let's get right into it. No, it is not the weather. Obviously, this graphic shows you that this is the net gain of all of these states due to the people that have left Illinois and where they migrated to when it comes to, people from Michigan actually have moved to Illinois. However, more people have moved to Michigan than from Illinois than people have moved from Michigan to Illinois. Wisconsin, 16,845. Iowa happens to be the lower turnout. And granted, people from Iowa have gone back and forth. Any of these border states, 14,000 in Mizzou. Now, I find that one very interesting because it's the huge amount of people actually have left Illinois to go to Missouri. Missouri people have jumped back over. That's why there's a lower net out migration of people in Missouri, but it's a pretty big number. Kentucky, Indiana. So let's get right into it. Why are people leaving? And once again, I know that Wire Points and Illinois Policy and other news outlets like that have their own reasons why it is. But let's get into the DPB's reasons. Number one, and I know that you're probably going to guess what number one is. And it isn't the weather. That's like I said at the beginning of the show. It's not the weather. It is corruption. I think people get sick and tired of it. Whether corruption is what they deem it to be, because corruption manifests itself in so many different forms in Illinois. The number one way that corruption manifests itself in Illinois is through our taxes. We are taxed. We are taxed and overtaxed in every area of our life. Right now, when July 1st rolls around, our gas tax is going to go up again. In fact, it's never going to go down, according to the General Assembly, and they don't even have to go back in session to vote for an increase in the gas tax, because now it has an automatic multiplier, an automatic what is the word I'm looking for? It just automatically increases every year. I lost the terminology they use, the sophisticated politicians use in Springfield, but it basically checks itself every year and adds to the gas tax in Illinois. Property taxes out of control. Every part of our lives in Illinois, sales tax. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So when it comes to corruption, and you say, how do you tie in corruption with taxation? Is they've got to cover their trail, right? They have to figure out how it is they're going to pay for the $50 billion that they allocate right now. That's the newest budget that just came across J.B. Pritzker's desk that he signed into law, is the newest budget of almost $50.5 billion. And when he started in office 5 years ago, that budget was $34 billion. What has happened in Illinois? And believe me, I know what it is. It's taxes. It's the taxation of Illinoisans that has increased so much that we have to allocate more money in a budget to pay for the expenses that we've incurred. We don't, as you've heard it said, we don't have a revenue problem in Illinois. We have a spending problem, which has led people to exit the state of Illinois. That graphic shows it all too well, but it's just not the surrounding border states. Obviously, they have benefited from the multitude of people who have left. Let's get into number two. Number two is similar to number one. Regulation. It comes through taxation, right? We strictly regulate the way that people can exist. how businesses do business in Illinois. It is so stringent that small businesses create most of the jobs. Somebody said it was 80 to 85%. I believe it's still closer to more like 90% small businesses, and how you determine a small business is in differing ways, right? Is it under 100 employees? Is it under 50 employees? That deems a small business. Um, as you might have seen already in one of my other clips, we were covering JB's 300,000 new business startups. We have yet to see a list of what 300,000 new businesses looks like, and that was over the years of 21 to 22. So obviously regulation, some of the strictest regulation throughout the country. Number three, crime. Obviously, I don't have to tell you this. It never hits the mainstream media as hard as it hits in Chicago. They never tell the full story. They tell a story, but not the story. Chicago is probably one of the most overregulated, highest. They have some of the strictest gun laws, but yet now they're trying to solve the problem of teenagers killing teenagers. And that is something that is pretty simple to me. How is it that teenagers are killing one another? Obviously, they have access to guns in a city that doesn't allow them to have access to guns, in a country that doesn't allow them to have guns, in a state that doesn't allow them to have guns. So all three levels of government don't even allow them to have guns, but yet they possess guns. Where are they getting their guns? How are they supplied their guns? Who is actually in control of of uh, of every part of these young people's lives? No one. They're doing whatever they please. And that is evident in the high crime spike since Mayor Brandon Johnson took over. I mean, it's exponential. I mean, what has happened in Chicago? Crime. So people are leaving because of crime in Illinois, specifically in the Chicagoland area. That is where most people are leaving from, is Cook County and the collar counties. Now, it used to be people left Cook County and moved out to the collar counties. Now they realize that the crime has just followed them to the collar counties. So now they're choosing higher ground somewhere else. And who is that that's leaving? It isn't the far left, radical left that's leaving Illinois. It's people like you and me who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so crime, right up there, taxation, regulation, getting back to the corruption, and then fiscal irresponsibility. If ever you can coin, why is it that people are leaving? It's because we are so fiscally irresponsible. We rank as one of the lowest on the list. We're like tied with New Jersey in number 49th position as far as fiscal responsibility. Yes, we're told that JB Pritzker's out there balancing budgets for the fifth straight year in a row. Now, I find that interesting and disingenuous because bottom line is balancing a budget means that you're only spending as much money as you've allocated to spend. So you can create unfunded mandates and spend money on those without having those in your budget for the year. So unfunded mandates means that you really didn't plan on spending money, but yet you're spending money. One of the things we'll never address on in our state government is the pension crisis. In fact, it's interesting. It's almost like a plague. Nobody wants to touch it, but it exists. I saw a video of the former leader of South Korea or North Korea, and he had this huge tumor growing on his neck. And it was, in fact, I think this came in one of Tucker Carlson's pieces. And nobody in the national government of North Korea would talk about the big tumor that was growing on the neck. And I guess his statement was, I guess if we're not talking about it, it doesn't exist. Well, that's how the pension crisis is in Illinois. We obviously know that many people rely upon those pensions that have been shorted for many years, going back almost to 2001, where they started with the Edgar ramp. And now this is where we're at, depending on whose numbers you believe, whether that's Illinois Policy, Wire Points. There are many other places that you can go and get the information. If you find some information, please, by all means, put it in the chat. I'd love to hear where you're doing your deep dives and where you're mining the data on the indebtedness of Illinois when it comes to their pension funds and where and how it is they're going to spin themselves out of it, because we almost spend $10 billion a year just in interest on the shorted pension crisis that is existing, which once again doesn't really exist because nobody's talking about it. But here we're talking about it. So number five is pretty simple. For going on 40 years, Illinois has been controlled by Democrats. 40 years, 37 under Michael Madigan. You know, he was found to be corrupt. Obviously, that's what he was indicted on, corruption, federal charges, state charges, everything. 40 years of Democrat rule in Illinois. Are we truly better as a state? 40 years removed from when Mike Madigan kind of took control of the reins, passed that on to Chris Welch as the speaker with JB Pritzker at the helm. Are we better? And I think the people have answered unanimously, no, we're not better. You see that they are voting with their feet, or at least the U-Haul truck that's leaving Illinois. Those are the 5 reasons that I believe that people are truly exiting this state and will continue to exit it. We're not doing anything about it. And I would encourage you, I know this isn't a popular sentiment coming from people who have tried and fought back in Illinois. Until enough people leave the state and leave the state to basically find the bottom, then we're never going to see solutions of turning the tide here in Illinois. It's only going to continue to go down. The descent is bottomless at this point. But if you vote with your feet and you leave, then obviously at some point you can come back. I know that it will return to a climate that's the land of Lincoln. But right now, it is the land of make believe. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to get better for a very long time. Hey, once again, subscribe to my YouTube channel, The DPB Show. I hope you enjoyed this little clip on the top 5 reasons everyone is leaving Illinois. Don't forget to put in your reason that you left Illinois or why you're considering leaving Illinois. We will be back probably shortly with another clip.